Hello! Welcome everybody, the whole world, and Julia and Catherine. We're all here. We're back again, and this week we are talking about resistance. And I believe that we had a conversation. Julia, you and I were talking, and I think the word resistance came up, and that's where we said, hey, we're going to do on resistance.
I might.
Sure. So I have no rhyme or reason to what we're doing here, and I think that maybe what I was thinking tonight is that we try to keep it to just 30 minutes. An hour is really long. So does that sound good to you girls? Start by saying, well, I'm Annelise Woitulewicz, and we'll just introduce ourselves. My website is http://co, and I'm a transformational life coach, and just really happy to be able to have these conversations with my amazing friends and colleagues, Catherine and Julia.
I'm Julia Curry, and I'm an eating psychology coach, speaker, and wellness advocate, and be here as well. My website's juliacurry.com. You can find me on Twitter at jcurryspeaks. Yeah, just to hear different perspectives on it, and it's such a common thing that comes up for so many, women and men alike. But I'm just very glad to be here.
Yeah, Navarro. My health coach website is cwellness.com, and my website is catherinenavarro.com. And I am curious to see what conversation you two were having and what topics, what came about for the two of you around resistance and what your perceptions are. I know that we also threw that book into the mix as well to see if what she would like to add, what her golden nuggets were, the takeaways on that book.
Yeah. Well, Julia and I think if I remember right, we were talking about, I think that we were talking about visibility. Is that right? And doing the work that we do in the world as coaches, and I presume that we're being visible just by putting this out here. And being live. I know that's what we were just talking about, being visible and just sharing our message and just putting ourselves out there a little bit more. I know that that's what you had said, Julia, was, I think maybe I had asked you what was holding you back, or you didn't know, and it was just you were resisting it, and that's kind of where the topic came. I know for me that, actually, I don't want to start tonight.
Start. I don't even know what we're talking about, really. Well, what about, give me the question, or the context, because resistance, I think you can talk about it from so many different angles. About resistance when it shows up. I was looking into the book that you recommended, and I'm still at the part in the book of The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
Stephen Pressfield.
David? Yeah, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, where he talks about resistance showing up in your life when you're procrastinating. As your lessons are, it's when you don't want to do it. That's something that you should push through. So for me, when resistance brings up a bunch of things, especially in the coaching field, right? What you resist persists. So one of the first things that's going to come to mind for me, again, would be, what am I resisting? And I kind of say to myself, I don't want to deal with this. Let's say an example is maybe a friendship that I no longer see value in it, or I don't feel like it's adding value to my life. It doesn't make me feel good. It's not fun anymore. I don't enjoy sharing with this individual. And I say to myself, it feels icky. I kind of want to move away now, right? You're not going to have that whole teenage conversation with someone and say, I don't think we should really be friends anymore because we don't hang out in the same playgrounds anymore, or however you used to say it as kids. As adults, you kind of just stop calling or stop talking, almost like, right? You just wean out of that. And lo and behold, here comes new person that I meet, let's say at a meet and greet or through someone else, and I say, wow, there's a certain vibe about this person that seems so familiar. And then I say to myself, yes, different zip code, same person. It's like a different shell, but it's the same exact thing that I was dealing with this other person that I no longer want. Is this a test from the universe, or is this what I resist persist? Does this mean that I have to deal? So with resistance, that's one. Is it recurring? Is there a lesson here? Or do I just not want to deal with whatever is going on? And I think that's where the golden nugget is, right? That as coaches, we can ask ourselves so many questions. You don't want to get lost in all the questions, but at the same time, you don't want everything to fit, every circle to fit in the same circle hole. You don't want to call everything X, this is X. Oh, it has to be X because I've seen this before and this is what it is. Just kind of feel into it and see. And it has to be okay. I can't really, like last week we were talking about, I can't really judge that and force myself in this lifetime. Maybe there is reincarnation and I'll just deal with it next life. I'm on my laptop. All the squares are really, really small.
They're still small. I've got the book. I've got my iPad sitting in front of me here with the book, and I had The War of Art, which I wish that I would have remembered this book sooner. I had forgotten. I read it a few months ago and had forgotten all about resistance until just a day or two ago, and I was glancing at it, but I had highlighted some notes, and I think that one of the things that I just want to, I think it's so strong in this book, and there's probably a lot more nuggets in here that I'm just not remembering right now, but in this line here it says, most of us have two lives, the life we live and the unlived life within us, and resistance. So, I think that that's so strong and so powerful is that, we're living whatever this life is, and we oftentimes have this other thing that we want, and sometimes we're like, why don't I, whatever it is that we want in our lives, why don't I have that? Why am I not jumping up and just getting, right out and going for my morning run? Why do I resist doing that every day? And I don't have the answer, but it's like that's that goal or that other thing on the other side, and I think that something else I have highlighted here. I just have highlighted the enemy is a very good teacher, and the enemy being resistance. I'm assuming here. It is such a good teacher. Asking ourselves that question around why am I resisting? Like, what is that about? And I wish sometimes that I didn't have the resistance. Whether it is that morning run or not eating the chocolate or
Chocolate sounds good right now.
Or procrastination. Oh my gosh, like that's huge resistance. Resistance to what? To something that I don't want to do because it's not fun, or when it is something I really want to have that end goal, like why do I procrastinate? What am I resisting? And I just want like magic golden nuggets to just be here to answer those questions when they come up, because I know that we all feel I feel resistance quite often, but I don't think I recognize it as resistance. I recognize it more as procrastination. Is what it feels like to me. I don't know why, but that's really what comes to me when I think about it. I don't know. Where do you see resistance in your life, Julia?
Well, I don't deal with any resistance, so I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I'm kidding. It's a joke. How it shows up for me is kind of similar to what you say, in the sense that, like, I feel like when I'm being called to, like, sort of my higher potential or that next step, between maybe already in my knower, so to speak, I know what my highest values and alignment, where that alignment is with my highest values, my highest goals and purpose, but yet I'm not quite ready to live into it yet. And so there's like this gap in between where I'm knowing that deep down inside, but yet I'm not ready to necessarily implement everything that it takes, like all at once, to get there. And so to me that feels like resistance, whether it's in the form of just fearful thoughts or I'm just really tired right now and I'm not feeling that well, like I would even get into that. So it could be like I'm super, super triggered, or it could be like I'm just grumpy, I don't feel good, or like trying to find all these excuses why I can't, maybe take that next step because it's scary. So I experience it in that sense. And I think like, over time it's just like practicing that, still just showing up, and doing that thing that scares me. And then like moving to the next level of, okay, I'll just do the next thing that scares the crap out of me. Okay, I did that, to me the only way is to move towards it.
I'm gonna ask, so how do we pass, like what is the opposite of resistance?
Letting go. I feel like letting go and letting the natural flow would be the impulse to grow happen. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, because I think we all have an impulse in us to always want to grow, and when we hold back or we walk, like it's a river, right? It's this river towards our potential. But when we're walking against the current, trying to be like, I'm not ready, and everything else. But to me, it's like floating to that next step. I don't, for each of us, that's different. Learning to float.
The definition right now. So if I look at, this is Merriam-Webster, refusal to accept something new or different, someone or something, the ability to prevent something from having an effect. Kind of those three definitions. So refusal to accept something new or different. I don't think we really talked about it in that terms yet. Well, I guess that would be challenging that growth. That would be new.
That new next.
How do we counter that? What's there to let go of when that's the case? Toward. When you're
Well, I think that would be it, to accept it.
Acceptance. Yeah. That was simple.
When we're talking about resistance, or even the way Julia was talking about resisting something, maybe going upstream or going against the current, I guess it would be to go with it, to accept it, to just say, okay, this is what is, and maybe not give it any story.
I think of it too, like you said, I love that you use the idea of story, because that is so much probably your mind a lot. I guess in the times that I have found myself to that next step, it's always like, to me, I see that as an invitation. Like this is an invitation to recommit to that deeper alignment and value that whatever that is. I may not necessarily embody that completely yet, like I may not be there yet, but I'm recommitting. I'm saying yes. Yes to life, yes to the dream, yes to the passion. That's a letting go. It's the futility of trying to resist that which I'm destined or whatever. That is a form of letting go, like moving towards it. And sometimes even just allowing myself to feel the feeling of the resistance. I practice that too. I just call it releasing, like sitting with it, taking a few breaths. This feels uncomfortable, and just letting it move through, just pass. Rather than efforting, trying to push it down, trying to ignore it, trying to run away from it, whatever that is, that only actually fuels the resistance, So for me, it's like just allowing it to be and move through, kind of like the river, letting go of the story, like you said.
So I'm thinking, in addition, what keeps coming to mind is the acceptance. So I'm going to go back to the chocolate. Not that that is a theme in my life at all, but when we've all done the eating psychology program, he initially said that it really attracted me to his work is, and I'll always remember hearing a coaching session that he was leading on, that was given to me, in a bonus in another program that I took. And he was talking to a woman on the phone, and what he had said to her was something around the word, I don't even know what it was, but it was just something like, the whole, what if the chocolate, or whatever it was. And for the first that. And to me, it's like we're fighting that urge to resist. For me, it's like I can't, just like the diets or whatever. I can't have this, I can't have this. The more I can't have it, the more I want it. And I have a hard time resisting whatever it is. And when he said those words of, what if it were okay? What if it's okay that you have the chocolate? And I think it was chocolate in this call. And after, like, I knew I had to do that program and be a part of that. And even more so, it has made a change in my life in the way I, not all the time, but can often look at it in terms of, when I want that and I'm fighting myself, it's just giving into it the same way, but it's more accepting it. It's like you had talked about, Julia, feeling, really just sitting with it and allowing it to be, but it's also about not placing judgment on it and just being okay with it and accepting it. And to me, I guess that feels really good, to not be resisting it in the way that I know that I used to, and being okay with it. Give me chocolate. So something else that happened to me today, I was on a call for another program with, it's a class from Bill Barron, and he actually did a meditation, and the meditation was on feeling the fear. So not resisting the fear within us. And this was in particular, it was like an enrollment conversation, kind of a call with bringing in new clients, and that fear of objection and people saying no, and and then resisting even making the calls and stuff, like what's the worst thing that can possibly happen. So he did an entire meditation on fear, and it was just really powerful. Again, it was just sitting with it, that feeling of sitting with it. And I think that Catherine, or I mean, we've all heard that, what resist, persist, whoever coined that term to start with. Was that Debbie Ford?
Oh, out of work, and there are parts of us that we may not want to accept for A, B, or C reason, or how you see it in someone else, and that's the part that really irks you about them, and there's a part of you that you need to own, and you start to see it more and more. I don't know if she necessarily says.
Is Marianne
Williamson,
yeah. I don't know. But anyways, I think that definitely it's so true. Like, we all feel it. You don't want this, you don't want this, we're going to keep it. You don't want this, you're not going to let go, you're not going to accept it. Okay, let me keep giving it to you.
C.G. Jung.
I'll just talk about it, but none of us coined it. Call again tonight. Catherine, how do you see resistance showing up in, how do you see it showing up in your life today?
I think it always shows up. I think it's part of life. I don't know if it's necessarily how it shows up today as opposed to in the past. I think it's more of how I welcome it or how I view it, right, today. So I think it still shows up. And when I think about resistance, it shows up in so many different ways. When we talk about procrastination, working out as my example. Because for me, especially after studying with Mark David, I try not to put myself into a very regimented, be extremely constricted. I feel as though it puts me in I become more masculine and masculine energy and not as creative, and I don't stay in my feminine as often. And sometimes I'll say to myself, oh, I don't feel like working out today. It's no big deal, right? No big deal. I give myself permission to not do it. Okay, so I'm resisting the fact that I know it's knowledge-based. I know that the more you take care of your body, right, the more that you take care of this vessel that you have, it's only one we have, the more that it will show up for you to do the things that you want it to do. But then, like last week, I'm a lot better this week. Thank you, ladies. It was my first. But for the whole week, I'm telling myself, oh my goodness, I can't wait to be able to fill in the blank, whatever it is. It's resistance shows up that sometimes I don't want to do whatever it is, and then when I know I can't do it, that's when I want to do it. I can really realistically do right now. My lungs won't cooperate because it's not the best timing. And I'm saying it's a golden nugget. This is what I should remember. When I don't want to do this, I should remember all the times that I can't do it. that maybe provide more motivation and more. And what do? I go into my cell phone, and so that there are times that I go back and I read these little nuggets that I give myself. I have my own coaching themes, my coaching.
I love it. What a great idea, though.
Exclamation points that I tell myself. And another thing that you talked about with chocolate or allowing yourself X, Y, or Z. Sometimes when I think of resistance, I think of control. We just want to have so much control over certain things, and we want to box everything and be whatever it isn't. Like, I should be, I ought to be, or this should be easier and be this way. I shouldn't be having this experience, as opposed to what Julia is saying is accepting what is. Maybe I shouldn't be going through this, but I am what it is. Maybe it's not just, or maybe it's not fair, or maybe, I pout in my 2-year-old child and no, it's not fair. It shouldn't be happening to me, but it is. And just accepting that that's what it is. Find the nugget and move through it. So I don't think that it doesn't show control all of these things. The difference today is just how I would tackle it. That would be
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine.
Sure. I remember one thing, I had a yoga instructor that years ago, she kind of showed me like a pen, and I just remember this today when I was thinking about resistance, but she's like, this is our, say our emotions, our beliefs, our thoughts, our attitudes, our thoughts, our energy that's always constantly changing, right? And this is our conscious awareness, our hand. And so what a lot of us do is we go through life like this, gripping this as tight as we possibly can. And so I remember even that I tried to make complicated. I'm like, but that has to be really hard to let go. And she's like, it's about as hard as opening your hand, remembering that, let the pencil roll around, that these aren't you, the thoughts, the emotion, beliefs, the habits, they're constantly changing, and that anytime you want, you can drop it on the floor. You can just drop it. And I was like, no, it has to be more complicated than that. But that did shift something in me, because I was always efforting and holding on to everything so tightly. Always would say to me is, what you're trying to find is permanence. And the truth about life that you can always know is that things are always changing. Our thoughts, our energy, our emotions, the experience of life, our beliefs, everything is always going to be changing. And so the more you resist on to that which is already going to change, no matter if you like it changing or not, the more you can just let go of identification with all of that all the time, like putting that story, like Catherine said, like around all of it all the time and making it so personal. She's like, you will find yourself feeling more joy, more life, and just kind of that, like people say, go with the flow. And so it wasn't in denying that those things all sometimes feel agitating and real, but kind of just delinking my identification a little bit with it, kind of stepping back and being like, this isn't my preference, but it's okay that I have preferences, and life unfolding has its own preferences. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't always match, if that makes sense. But I just remember that was the first time I felt like I didn't, like, it's almost like simple, but I have to make it complex. You know what I mean? I can really just choose in any moment to let go. Yep. Like the pencil around in your hand first. You could just drop it.
That.
Yeah.
I had something similar. Maybe I heard it from you before, Julia. But I know I've heard that same kind of example with, holding on to something and just holding it tightly. So thank you for reminding me of that.
On a regular, I keep a lot of pencils around, Emotional a lot of energy out of our lives to try to keep it all under wraps. So the more we can learn to let go, the beauty, weird, I'm not controlling everything, but it frees up so much more energy for that which you really truly want to invest in, that which is in alignment with your values and your really core purpose. So it's just a great practice of, and the one I will say, one I sometimes ask myself when I'm getting triggered, or there's just, I just realize, like, why am I like procrastinating or not doing? I'll just say, whatever feeling is there, I'll just say, can I allow this to be here just for now? Can I allow myself to be with it just for now? Again, I'm not committing to an hour. I'm not committing to long, just for now. And moving towards it, it often just dissolves. So instead of fighting it, can I be with it? Like you said earlier, the fear, can I just be with the fear? Like the meditation you were talking about, just for a moment when you move towards it.
Yeah, interesting. I love that. I love that point when you had just said, to stay with it. I think that what I know that in the work that we do, and people into that mindset of happy, 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 joy, like you're not like, where is that fine line between allowing somebody to feel those feelings of lowness or sad and pull them into feeling better and feeling more confident and more empowered and more happy and all of these other things. And there's always this fine line of, we do need to be able to sit and accept and be with those feelings. And that's actually even of not even allowing us to have those feelings by saying, bad feelings, you need to be over here where the world is, awesome and wonderful and happy, and over there it's really bad. And it's just another form of, to me, I'm seeing that as another form of resistance. And I was listening to you say that, and it is so important that we do allow ourselves. I think that sitting with it piece, that it, not just the letting go, but I'm still thinking about in terms of just accepting it and just being with it and letting it be okay. Letting it be okay. Whatever that you're resisting.
And I think for me, when I would try like just the positive thinking or just something like that, like I feel like I was failure at that, And so when I learned more about, like I said, when I started that journey with the yoga instructor and just some other, teachers I've had, mentors I've had along the way, it was so helpful to feel like, wow, I can embrace this. I can, and actually once it dissolves, the cool thing is I would naturally disconnect with my natural state, which is peace, joy, love. Like that's our natural state. So once you dissolve what's around that, you just connect with what already is you. And so it wasn't this efforting, it's just more like, oh, this is much easier. I like this, So for me, at least, I've really enjoyed that journey a little bit more because it hasn't been as much effort, and I was so addicted to making everything so hard. And so I think that I truly do believe that's just our natural state anyways. So that's another perk of moving towards it.
Catherine, last supporting thoughts.
Supporting thoughts? Is that what we talked about? It made it a lot broader. This conversation made it a lot wider for me than coming into it. Coming into the conversation, I thought, okay, resistance, what you resist persists, and what shows up for you in your life, what doesn't. And in this conversation, we're talking about resistance and how it shows up in different forms of procrastination, how it shows up with different lessons that we want to learn, and how we're resisting it because maybe we're not ready, or maybe we're afraid and we have to kind of go through it anyway, or embracing it, moving through it, accepting it, loving what is, and then maybe moving forward and not thinking of the story around it. I'm thinking to myself, all right, then maybe the golden nugget is take a deep breath, and this too shall pass. Not controlling so much. And one little piece that we didn't get to touch on, Annelise, when you talked about why is it that sometimes we can find ourselves amongst this. I know it came up in the book, you talked about it briefly, but somebody who's really sick and they're dying, they only have X amount of months to live, and they drop everything and they follow their dreams. They're able to climb that mountain, or the family that they didn't get to see, they live this abundant life. All of a sudden they're full of their bucket list of what they want to do, and how come every day we don't wake up with this bucket list? I've asked myself that question many times. Sometimes I have a huge to-do list and I don't want to do any of it, and sometimes I just want to conquer everything and just run through it. And I think it's the concept of time. Whenever I think I have endless and abundant amount of time, I don't have to do that right now. And when I feel short of it, I want to run through the list because I don't know what I'm not going to get to. So maybe that's topic for another day of how we feel and how we respond when you think you have nothing but time to get something done. Or when you feel short on time, and how we tackle life in the bigger concept of things.
Yeah. That's a good topic. That's a hot topic.
Here's backwards. It says, I have more than enough time.
Beautiful. I love that.
More than enough time. I don't have the same pressure. I don't give myself the same pressure to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish.
Interesting.
You know, they've showed too in personality tests that some people just do feel more productive, like they can be more productive under pressure. I was just talking with a client about that today. I said, how much of that is just okay? You know, that some people, some personality types do like the Myers-Briggs and all that kind of thing are more the types that like, I want to get everything done 3 days before it has to be done, and that's how I feel good. And other people are like, I have that spark when I know there's a deadline, and I'm more that I know I have a spark when I know there's a deadline, and I've been that way since I was a kid, you know. And we were that way. Sometimes I wished I wasn't the deadline person because that can be a little stressful, but I do feel like motivated by that for some reason. Where some people like they dread that. They're like, I don't even want to get close to the deadline, you know. And they were talking about how like I remember when we did some testing and stuff on a staff I was on that they were talking about how some people are like production now, party later, and some people are party now, production later. I said I'm definitely party now, production later. I don't know. That's a good topic though to explore.
Absolutely. All right, ladies. Well, thank you. I'm gonna hit stop on the recording. So for whoever is out there listening in the world of the planet of Earth.